Now, there is Joseph Parker in his own calm way of wanting a rematch with Fabio Wardley, and he congratulated him. He's a tough man and he's a warrior, and hopefully we can have a rematch. Words of Joseph Parker, and let me counterpunch. You guys remember, if you've seen my live stream, you guys seen my disgust with the inability for these fighters to express themselves, right? I mean, you had Caballero, you had Akali, you had Dubois, you had Moses, and you had some other fighter, right? And you had them all lined up. And Adelaide was there as well, right? And you had all these fighters there. They were lined up, and then they were all like kids, like shy kids that really, didn't appear to have a sense of confidence, like a child, you ask kids, like, if you can imagine a coach talking to a team of kids or their team of high schoolers that are on a team, and you ask them, what do we want? And they're just like, they know what they want, but they're not trying to tell you what they want because they're not really developed and they're not accustomed to speaking up for themselves or speaking out or sharing their opinion, right? That's how that was. That's how that was. It was like, dude, I mean, I know you guys are cool, and I know, you guys are, good guys and all that shit. But at the same time, you're like, well, wait a minute, when are we going to have someone that speaks their mind with confidence? When are we going to have the bad guy? And a lot of people think the guy that's outspoken is the bad guy. Not all the time. You don't have to be a bad guy to speak your mind. And I think that's what people misconstrued speaking or being outspoken is all about. They think that, hey, if I talk too much, I'm going to be considered the loudmouth, and the loudmouth is considered to be the villain or the clown. And that's not always the case. Ade said it best, where he used the example of Juan Diaz versus Paulie Malignaggi. And Paulie Malignaggi was fighting down there in Houston. I remember that fight very well. And they gave it to Juan Diaz because he was, a native from that state, right?
It came as no great surprise that you were on the short end of the decision. Give us your thoughts.
Hey, man, first of all, how'd you guys score?
Ringside, Harold Letterman had it 7 rounds to 5. I thought that was about right, but I thought it was competitive.
7-5 me, right?
Yes, Harold.
And we were both trying our hardest with our own styles. I was backing up boxing. He was trying to bring it. We were both going for our strengths to pull out the last rounds, and I think we both needed. We knew them. We both knew we needed them. And I thought I pulled them out. I thought I outboxed the aggressor in the last rounds.
Paulie, assuming you don't get a rematch for a second.
You know I ain't getting a rematch, man. This is boxing. Boxing is full of shit, man. I used to love this sport. I used to love this sport, man. I cannot stand doing this. The only reason I do this is because it gives me a good payday. Boxing is full of shit.
And he was like, no, I just think this is all, these officials and all this shit, they're full of shit. I want a rematch. I think I need a rematch. All these, you look at the punch stats, you look at the numbers that don't add up for him to win this fight, and I want a fucking rematch. And what happened, though, people? What happened after Paulie Malignaggi was vocal about what he said? They gave him a rematch. Right? They gave him a rematch. So the things that they could have done, and I am a big fan of Andy Lee as a trainer. Think he's a hell of a trainer, but he may be too passive when it comes to certain things. And when you're a trainer, so, I mean, the trainer, of course, is the core, or a main component of your team. And since he is that, they should know certain things. They should have stayed in that ring and made and stated their claim. They should have stayed in that ring and was like, nope, I want a rematch. This shit was either fixed, you're on the take, It was too early. You know, and I was fine. I shoved that referee off my ass because he was trying to jump in when there wasn't even really action to really even go on. The last 3 shots that the dude threw, he missed, and then he came in. Those are the things that he should have done, and he didn't. They walked out. You know what I mean? Like with the tail between their legs. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were congratulating people and, you know, doing all that good guy shit. But at the same time, they should have stayed in that ring and made a claim like, yo, no, this is not acceptable. No, this is not how you do it. No, this is not true representation of boxing or British boxing or any other boxing. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna fly. You ain't fighting Usyk, motherfucker. You fight me next because you know you didn't stop me. You didn't drop me, so you didn't stop me. That's how it should have been done. That's how it should have been played. Okay, so when we talk about, well, hey, you know, he's a good warrior and he's this and that and the other. No, sometimes you have to be vocal. And being vocal is a part of growth. You know, like if you have 2 introverted, passive fucking people in a relationship, nothing's going to get done. Because nobody is going to come out and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what we should do. And let's make it happen. Okay. So in comparison, maybe Andy Lee was a bit too passive. We already know Joseph Parker's too passive. He's too good of a guy. You can't be too good of a fighter or a person to speak your mind. Sometimes you can be too humble. Sometimes you got to speak your mind. And that's exactly what he should have done. Now, it's other things that Joseph Parker should have done. You know, the physicalities in it. He should have clinched more. Sure. He could have took a knee. Not should have, but could have. Because that should have shit like, oh, well, that's what he should have done. No, he could have done that. Because it wasn't like Fabio was just hitting him with fresh shots to justify that. In that case, it would have been okay. But we all know that's bullshit. That referee has a whole nother video in honor of his ass coming soon. Okay? To a counterpunch platform near you. Right? So that's a different story. But as far as Joseph, what he could have done, yeah, I could have made it vocally known that no, I was fine. That referee stopped this shit. He's full of shit, and I never want to see him here again. I never want to be in front of him. If I see him in this fucking ring, I'm walking out. That would have made... Look, you wouldn't have had boost because a lot of people thought the same shit. But for him not saying anything, walking out of the ring, not even making a statement... Things you ignore, you agree with, right? You heard that saying? Something you don't address, you agree with, right? Something like that, right? You agree with because you're not addressing. That's what Joseph Parker did. Hopefully we can get a rematch. It ain't no hopefully, motherfucker. I demand a rematch. That's how you do it. You speak with authority. Because if you don't speak with authority, nobody else is going to speak for you. I can't speak for Joseph Parker. If I could, I would. Now, if that was Teddy Atlas, if that was Teddy Atlas was like, no. He would have spoke his mind. And you think Frank cares? I mean, Frank, he's signed all those fighters anyway, so, you know, he doesn't give a shit. You know, he's got the next heavyweight fighter going to the undisputed championship, you know, to fight Usyk. To fight the king. He ain't worried about none of that. So, you know, he might have, and I don't think he wanted Joseph Parker to win anyway. But then here's the thing. Why would he? You know, why would he want Joseph Parker? Or then again, why wouldn't he? Well, I can find a couple reasons why he wouldn't. Because maybe Joseph Parker's too fucking nice. Maybe I get Caballero is too fucking nice. Maybe these guys are not willing to speak their mind and come out of the shell, to talk the way they probably talk at the house. Now, if they talk that way at the house, they're just introverted, passive, quiet people that have a crazy, mean fighting streak. That's why they're in the ring. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, that shit doesn't sell. What does Fabio Wardley do better than Joseph Parker? Hey, he articulates himself. That's what he does. See, a lot of people need to look at this a lot differently than we are. You know, a lot of people think Joseph Parker's boring. He ain't no boring fighter. Maybe he's just a boring person because his personality doesn't match what he can do in the ring. You know what I mean? You got to have a balance with this shit. You can't be, you know, hey, you know, la, 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 in the ring. Like, I just wanted to fight, you know. I just wanted to know, you know. No, I don't know, bro. I don't know. So, yeah, that's probably what Joseph Parker should be. He should be more outspoken, and I think he's just too nice overall, and I think that's the reason why, unfortunately, he will fall through the cracks because he's not vocal enough to speak his mind. But you guys tell me what you think of Joseph Parker suggesting a rematch. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.